What's good, YouTube? Certainly not this set, and welcome to the house. These are some of by far the worst reprint choices I've seen, and while some of the collector rares have redemption, they're just not going to have value there. I wouldn't touch this set with a 20-foot pole unless there's a big free sign on top, in which case I will, and I'll still be crapping on the cards inside, even though I topped with some of them. When it comes to the archetypes inside, though, you have the Rescue Ace, which looks really cool on paper, but with today's modern power creep and choke points of this deck, I don't think it's gonna do all that much. Prove me wrong, go win a YCS with it. Mikanko is what the competitive players are running with the most. It does have some interesting implications, but again, with tier limits, the current ban list, how things are, I do not think it will be performing all that well. And then you have the Eevee of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's so cute. Look, I do know that niche archetypes will sometimes retain value like Ghost Tricks, where they get a lot of fans behind them that just desperately want anything for them to be good or to enjoy them casually without paying attention to the metagame. That might be the case here, but in terms of value, it's not going to be redemption. Now, value, it's not everything, right? But a large chunk of these sets are reprints, and value isn't determining. But when every single kind of these sets fail, and we're talking deck building collector rare sets where there's only been one that's been good, and we're looking at even the most recent Tactical Masters, the boxes, people don't want to open them, and it comes down to the ratios. You're only pulling 3.6 of each ultra rare per case. That's $720, where you barely get an extra of some of them to end up trading with. It's not worth people going in on. And what are the reprints here that are to be chased after? We're looking at the Noble Knight Renowned, which is going up thanks to the Mikanko, and people were saying, well, maybe it won't be reprinted like the OCG. That's why it's up currently all the way back from Toon Chaos. And oh boy, Super 1-for-1 that's, not going to have all the damage that the Super back in the day from out of the 10 had, and it's got a collector rare. The problem with 1-for-1? You only play one. What a great choice of a collector rare. Gizmek Orochi is one that will come back just like its effect. I think it will have metagames where it's good. I think that's a solid collector rare choice, but it's not a selling point. It's not something that, I'm gonna go tear this set open for when I only get 4 collector rares per case. You're letting down stores with the ratios versus the past all foil side sets. There were 20 secret rares and you opened 24 secrets in a single box. And that's why I complain so much when it comes to the pull ratios. Even the original short prints of secret rares, you'd get one in every other box, and they eventually choke that out to about what the ultras are, and now all of the ultras have that really crappy pull rate, and the secrets just look so much better. When it comes down to all of these reprints, though, we already have a Super Isolde, and it wasn't worth that much. Like, what are these actual choices on reprints? Like, Gearfree, good job. Toon Chaos, we're digging back into there like we did with Battles of Legend, because you're drying up on the pool for reprints. There's plenty of other cards to end up reprinting, but they're really, versus power creep, starting to run out of picks and choices, and this just isn't it. When it comes to the archetypes inside, like I said, for value, it doesn't really matter all that much if they're good or bad. Look at Tactical Masters. Runic was in the metagame, and Labyrinth by far is a fan favorite kind of stun deck that people are on Master Duel really enjoying and looking forward to future support here. A lot of the prices are going up, but that doesn't reflect into the product because of the piss poor pull rates that are out here. Like, people do not find it worth to chase after these cards. So over time, as the cards go up, people finally look around and maybe we'll dig into it and get that sour, disappointing feeling where they should have got the cards earlier as singles for these kinds of sets. And you look through and there's just the trashiest collector rares where they bottomed out in value as well. Runic got power crept itself, and if you're looking at any of these decks and telling me it's better than Runic, I mean, good for you. We'll see how that performs. I'm just not biting or feeling it. I do think that Purely will, over time, become worth the most out of this set. Like, as we go on, even through reprints, I think that Purely's probably going to win in terms of value just because it's the cute one and not based on, how good it is. And I do think it has some redeeming qualities. Card Trooper and 1-for-1 are collector rares, which aren't labeled on here. Card Trooper you do play 3 of in past formats, and it's about as relevant relevant as I am right now. I topped with it back in the day. I lost to Burn in the top 16, which was Kenny So, the owner of Core TCG, by the way. It's a pretty cool store. And when it comes down to Card Trooper, like, cool, past format nods, you want 1 or 2 of these per set. You don't necessarily want to rely fully on them, and their mix was just so off the mark, it feels like, when it comes down to these. Now, there are some neat reprints in terms of, I'm glad they did this. Future value, you know, it'll keep it down. Preparation of Rights, I think that's a card that people should have access to easily. The Reyes map, actually, I think is a pretty good reprint as well. I like to see it in here. I like it to be easier access. It's a combo piece for certain decks where it shouldn't ever be too expensive or an easy access. So I do like some of the choices in terms of preventative. There's just not a good mix-in of a valued reprint where it's also a chase collector rare. Like, what am I going after collector rare wise if I'm busting this open that's even going to be worth the value of the box? I'm questioning it because, again, 1 for 1, maybe because so little of this gets opened, you shouldn't be speculating that as a community. I'm seeing a lot of comparisons to Ancient Guardians 2.0. I'd argue Ancient Guardians has better collector rare picks overall between Pankratops as a one-of that you could play that might peel off the ban list one day, and then you also have Trade-In and Skullmeister, but it's still insanely niche. You have Sutff buyouts based on new support, and that's another thing they'll do. They'll try to pump life into these sets by releasing some support later, and later you'll get that initial little wave, and then they'll hold off for some time and try to really give a better card later. So you have Sutff buyouts happening right now, and it's still at a low. They're like, please take it. Shipping, fees, everything. Like, what are they even getting on $35? You lose 13% and then probably $5 shipping at least on a box. It's just, you know, it's stores desperately trying to get anything back out of this. And this was during the hype of the card boom. But Genesis Impact, like, you know, you look at this huge fan favorite thing that has tried to be in the metagame in Live Twins, and it has at points, and you have Drytrons, which people mechanically did not like to play. It was one of those decks where you either loved or hated it, but it was in the metagame, and you know people will sell their souls to the meta. It also was doing its thing. So you have multiple of these where it's not like Ancient Guardians where every single archetype was a flop, even with people arguing ahead of time, oh yeah, the Ogdoadics, the Usartics, they're gonna do it. You had these meta decks that actually had an impact here and here, yet there's still full fallout on the sets in terms of value. But going back to value isn't everything, John. It's just not that good of a side set in terms of mechanics. These decks feel like they're in a side quest of an important part of a video game when it comes to our current metagame, where you don't really want to play it, but you go ahead and do it, and that's probably what the Yugi tubers, oh, I gotta open this for my audience, it's the new thing, I gotta have content that's not tier elements. Like, that's seriously what this feels like to me, and all you can really do is have these same kind of, oh, Purelies, oh, he's so cute, oh yeah, big robot, oh, the mech, and the next side set, to its credit, really goes off the rails in terms of breaking the actual trend of the waifu, the mech, and whatever. Like, you have the Mikanko, you have usually the weird one, but it's the cute one this time in Purely, and the mech. It's going to kind of finally break that cycle in terms of design. We don't know what they're gonna do. Big dinosaurs, space battles, whatever. But these sets need to change. Konami really needs to stop production. They've already done that with the Duelist packs. They realized the Duelist packs were losing stores so much money, and time after time after time again, it's all of these collector rare deck building sets outside of grand creators flopping on their face, and this one's going to be no different in my opinion. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think. Am I too harsh? I really don't think so. I think most of us as a community would agree, give us back all foil side sets and just throw collector rares on top as a bonus. Why not? If you need that chase lottery model, go ahead and do that. I have noticed they're trying to peel back putting secret rares in other places, maybe to make secret a rarity that matters more, kind of like they did with ultimate rares and OTS packs. It very well could be Konami trying to play some long game like that to give secret rares a more collectible status within the community, because charismatic secrets are in the 10, so those OG secret rares appear a lot less places. And I'd say that's a really crap strategy, and you gotta look at how even the worst of side sets over time would become pretty big money based off of the different reprints that would be super, that would age well in the lower end, and the secret rares that also would end up that way. This is just absolute dog doo-doo, straight up.